When we talked to you yesterday, if I remember correctly, we asked you what you thought about Jackson coming back, and I think you said you had no opinion on that. Why don't you have an opinion? I mean, he's your head coach.
I mean, those decisions just aren't up to us. So as players, if they say Hugh Jackson's fired, you move on, you go through the offseason, you come back with whoever they hire. If they say Hugh Jackson stays, you're like, all right, Hugh Jackson's our coach. As a player, you have no input, you have no say-so who the head coach of your team is. So to me, I'm a big believer in control what you can control. So for me to put a lot of thought and energy into who the head coach is when you have nothing to say about it or nothing you can do about it is just pointless. So when you told me, it was just like, all right, cool. Like, you know.
Jason, a lot of people outside the building, they look at Hugh's record, they see 1-31, and they don't see a lot about it there. They say, how is this guy even coming back? You've been around the league, being here for a year with you. Could you just maybe explain why Hugh is a good coach and why he's valuable to you as a player?
That's a tough question just for the sense of, as a player in the league, your head coach is probably, unless he's an offensive, defensive guy and you're on that side of the ball, you're not around him that much. So I think Hugh's a good coach in the sense of how he leads the team from a standpoint of my interactions with him was just in a team meeting or before a game. For me as a player, I'm around Greg, I'm around Coach Walker, my coaches, so I can't tell you a ton about coaching from a standpoint of maybe what an offensive guy can tell you who's around him all the time in the building. I can just tell you he composes himself well in front of the team. He tells us what the expectations are and the things, the daily things that go into practice games and things of that nature. So much like every head coach I've had of just being able to stand in front and lead a team.
Jason, you made the comment after the game yesterday about people talking about the talent. Had that been bugging you for a while?
I think it's bugged probably everybody in this locker room. When you're one of the guys on the team that's playing your heart out and you're putting everything into it, obviously we're not getting the result we want, which is very apparent. But still, you're giving everything you got. You don't want to hear about what you don't have. You want to make the best of what you do have. And I think that's just the bond that's built in this locker room of, I want to win for Danny. Danny wants to win for me. I want to win for JT. And you don't really care what you don't have. You're just trying to figure out, well, what we do have in this locker room, how do we go out there on a Sunday and figure out how to win this game? So I think as a player, you just hate to hear that from anyone.
You specifically mentioned, in the organization too. I mean, did that kind of bug you a little more to hear people within the organization kind of say stuff like that publicly?
It bugs me no matter what, in, out, you just don't want to hear it.
Do you think that's something that will linger into next year?
No clue. Like I said after the game, anything of next year, I don't know. I'm focused on wife and kids, and I can answer anything about this year. Next year is just I really don't know.
Why do you think there were so few takeaways?
I don't know. That's a good question. I have no idea. I know we started out strong getting them, and we just went through a phase where we just weren't getting it and weren't creating opportunities. It wasn't like we were dropping a ton of them. We just weren't doing a good job of obviously punching the ball out on running plays or passes complete. Weren't picking the ball off. I really don't have an answer of why that was the case.
There's a couple of natural questions when you say that we're more talented than 0-16 suggests. The first one is coaching the problem?
Happy I don't have to answer those questions. That's not my job. My job is just to play.
Okay. And the other one is you may have talent, but is it too young to win right away?
I don't know. That'll be for the guys above me to come up with an answer and figure out what they feel the best roster is to put forward to win.
Do you think the team would benefit from the addition of a good group of veterans? Because there aren't many.
I guess as a veteran, I'll say yes. I'm all with keeping old guys employed, so I'll veer on that side.
Jason,
you've been around. This isn't your first exposure to the NFL. No disrespect, you're not a rookie or a second-year player. So, you know, what do you think was missing this year?
Oh man, I don't know. I guess in a year where maybe you finish just short, you can maybe pinpoint and say, hey, we were just missing this or we were just missing that. But the way this season unfolded, it was, I mean, I guess how do you pinpoint any one thing that leads to 0-16? You know, so for me, I don't know what it was. I know my only takeaway from this season was I enjoyed. I guess I've said this before. The guys in this locker room. That's what I've been most impressed by from the day I got here. Of just how much guys put in, how much guys are willing to work. Like you said, it's a young group. I enjoyed my role this season of being able to talk to the younger guys, give back to the younger guys, and I guess be known in the locker room as Uncle Mac. I enjoyed that part of it and just a camaraderie built within the brothers in this locker room.
Does that mean, if you can't pinpoint one thing, does that mean a ton of stuff needs to change? And maybe that's obvious when you are 0-16, but
I would just assume when it's been this bad for 2 years, probably a lot of things do. I mean, you can't keep doing the same thing and think you're going to get different results. That's the definition of insanity. So obviously, there's a lot of things that aren't right.
Yesterday, you know, Corey was obviously dropping that ball. He said it's something that will stick with him for life. Hugh Jackson said today about 0-16 that it's now part of his legacy. You know, as a player, what's your take on being part of a team that will be remembered for years to come, and maybe not for a positive reason?
Man, hopefully they forget my name as the years go by. I don't know. I don't know. You know, a terrible thing to be a part of. Wish you weren't a part of. Corey dropped the pass. It happens. You know, we all made mistakes throughout this season that led us to the result that we ended up with. It wasn't his single play that, we could have won the last game. 1-15 gets you out of the history book, but 1-15 is awful, just as bad. So it's tough, you know. I give the guys credit for continuing to fight, but coming up empty-handed, you feel for the fans that have cheered for the team for so long and have had to be a part of so much losing. You just feel for everybody within it. You try so hard to win, and when you come up short so many times and then to lose games the way we did, close games where we felt like, okay, the excitement's building, this is the one, and then to come up short. So just extremely disappointing.
Jason, I think a lot of people, as they look forward, kind of pin their hopes on all the draft picks, all the cap space. Do we even think about that stuff?
No, not at all. As I said, no thought process towards any of those things. The powers that be will make their decisions when it comes to draft picks, free agents, and then obviously when it comes to the guys in the locker room. The one thing I know is consistent is each and every year a team changes. And the years I've been in Tennessee when we were bad, locker room changed drastically. So that's kind of the one thing that is always consistent. When you lose, the locker room's going to go through a lot of changes.
I know you're in a contract. Do you expect to be back?
I signed a 2-year deal, so I'm contractually obligated to be back.
You guys guys don't always finish contracts.
Yeah.
Expect to come back.
I mean, as far as that decision, totally out of my hands. You know, that'll be up to the personnel department to decide those things.
You want to be back?
Huh?
You want to be back?
I love to play football. Whoever's going to employ me, I'm down to play.